And I think like it's important to touch on something else in this as to it's actually quite normal to feel a bit of fear when you're looking to go in and like do a big purchase and build your portfolio because this is something that I'm seeing that's quite common. And I'd love for you to touch on that as to like what your thoughts are.
Yeah, it's scary. Like I think getting started, we're using a lot of analogies to other things, but if you've never been to a gym before, you've got to go to a class, let's just say F45 or whatever it is. You've never done it before and you're standing outside. It's bloody scary. And it's even more scary to buy a property for the first time because what you're going to find is if you're buying a $700,000 asset and it's leveraged to sort of 80%, that's a pretty big loan. And then you're kind of like, oh, what am I going to do if properties go to zero or whatever? What if I can't get a tenant? And all of these sort of things. So it's totally normal to be scared. And that's kind of why, building, one of the most important things you can do is build a crack team around you of people who've accomplished that, who are going to help you through this process to make it as kind of stress-free as possible. Because it's never going to get any easier. In fact, if anything, it will get harder. The more you think about it, the more you think about trying to get into that class. You don't go the first time, you go back the next time. It doesn't get any easier. In fact, if anything, you kind of times it by two or whatever. It's the same with property. And if I think back to my own journey, when I started out, and I was looking in Blacktown in Sydney, and you could get plots of $700,000 for $300,000, and that was scary. I was struggling to pull the trigger then, and everyone, even watching in 2026, now that property's worth 1.5 million or whatever it might be, or maybe a little bit less. But that goes to show, it's not going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. But you just got to take action.
And I love that you touched on there that doesn't get easier because I'm a true believer in like new level, new devil. Like the higher you do keep going, you think, oh, I've bought heaps of properties. But then like when you're getting to a certain stage in your portfolio, then you're needing to take into account, well, am I going to get stuck soon? Do I need to like look at a different strategy? Like what's this all? Like there's a lot more details that needs to go into each purchase and each purchase looks very different. So something new comes up in every different purchase.
Yeah, it does. And there's kind of like, it's almost like I don't know what the actual term is. It's almost like a loser sort of like a kind of circle almost whereby you're looking at maybe stocks, Bitcoin, whatever it might be, property, off the plan, whatever it is. And you look at this, you hear this podcast and it's like, okay, well, this is amazing. Well, you see this advert, oh, that looks amazing. Then you see something else and then you keep cycling and, none of them are perfect, but you just got to like block it out and just be single-minded and see what's best for you and your situation and just go for it.
Yeah, and I love that advice. Do you have any other advice for someone that is like getting to that stage, but like they are feeling that fear come up, like to actually then go ahead and take the action?
Yeah, definitely. I think probably the best thing I can say is reverse engineer that. And what if you do nothing? Yeah. So, how is your life going to look in 10 years if you do nothing? And so, okay, you stay in your comfort zone. You don't buy that property. You don't take on that $500,000 debt. You don't take on that negative cash flow or that risk of kind of fixing things on. Fast forward 10 years, all of a sudden, assets behind you. You're 10 years older, you're closer to retirement or whatever it might be. You might have a family, you might have more kids or whatever it might be. You've done is kick the can massively down the road. What are you going to do? How are you going to get out of that situation? All of a sudden, you might find that the job situation is not looking good. And you don't have any other irons in the fire. So I think that's probably the biggest thing you can think about is what if I do nothing? How is that going to look for my situation? And I think when you do that and then you look at what potentially the outcome, if you do something and you do generate this amount of equity in that particular time, no one said it's easy, as I've talked about a few times, but the alternative is actually, in my opinion, a lot more scary. And that's why I took action back in the day.
And I think like I 100% agree, like there is cost to everything. There's a cost of moving forward and there's also a cost of staying the same. And I think like what you touched on there is like looking at, I think with the fear, like people are, and myself included, like look at fear as like, oh, what's going to go wrong? But I think we do have to start looking at, well, what if it goes right?
What if it goes right?
What if it does go right and we build this property portfolio, get to work part-time now, get to do all the things that we're wanting to do and not have to be stuck in the rat race. And I think that that's something that has really helped me in my journey and like motivated me to keep going is like, well, thinking of it that way, like if it does go right, what am I actually going to get and achieve from this?
Glass half full person. And exactly, you kind of like, some people might say you're lucky. I was lucky to buy in Sydney at this time, or lucky to buy in Brisbane at this time. Well, you make your own luck. You kind of like back yourself, you take action, and you look at kind of like a downside on your investment. If there's not too much downside, if the cash flow is pretty good, you're buying in an area at the start of the cycle, then generally you've got upside. It might not move for a few years, but the thing is just blocking out the noise and actually doing something and doing what's best for yourself. But again, it's like the day-to-day on this isn't easy. There's going to be things that sort of challenge you, like you've just talked about with your own journey. Tenants do crazy things, regulation out there, all the stuff coming up from the Albanese government, like negative gearing getting abolished and stuff. These things have been going on ever since I've been investing. There's always something. And so you block that noise out. I think Warren Buffett says something along the lines of, like if you could just buy an asset and then just take the whole news away and then you come back to it 20 years later, that's how that would actually benefit most investors and how they should invest. But unfortunately, we've got Instagram, we've got TikTok, we've got podcasts, we've got news.com, all this other stuff, which scares the life out of people. And so it's just about kind of, ignoring that, taking action and moving forward, because the alternative is that you're going to be in your job till you're 65, 70, and then you'll be on a state pension.
Yeah, wow. I think this is going to hit home for a lot of the listeners. It definitely has, resonated with me. And I think like taking back to what you said about like really blocking out the noise. I remember when I was about to buy a property and it was just before COVID, and even the bank lady that I was borrowing the money through was like, don't buy. Like it's about to plummet. Like you're going to be in the worst position possible. And I remember thinking to myself, like everyone around me, it was like a hard thing to push over and just not listen to it and keep going. And I bought and it literally doubled with COVID. So it's, the reward there of like blocking out the noise. I've definitely seen it for myself, and I know you have as well.
Well, yeah, I think I was hearing that there's going to be a property crash ever since 2008. And I'm still waiting for it. And there might be. But again, if you're buying in the right markets and the right kind of areas at the start of the cycle in the right time, the downsides are limited. If you're buying in markets at the top of the cycle, there is risk to that. But, that's why you use a professional to help you do the right thing. And then you kind of, the mistakes I've made, you kind of like now we've obviously learned from that. And now we've kind of built something pretty significant here. So outsourcing that decision to a buyer's agent who's going to help you, or a property strategist, if you will, helps you not make those mistakes that we might have made and previously. So you can actually fast track and potentially get a better result in a shorter period of time.
I love that. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.